Ladies and gentlemen, RosterWatch Nation, welcome back to the epic RosterWatch Podcast brought to you by RosterWatch.com. My name is Alex Dunlap here today with the Trashman, broadcasting live on Periscope and on YouTube, and of course here on the podcast feed. If you're watching on YouTube, if you could please give us a quick thumbs up, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and also leave a comment. That's been super, super helpful for us and helping people to find this. And if you're listening at Apple Podcasts, please rate and review the pod. We're putting out a ton of these for you, and we always appreciate it. Trash man, what the hell's going on, brother?
Not too much. Just getting a nice day going here in Austin, Texas. About to open up.
Yeah. Opening this bitch up, huh? 25% capacity at restaurants. Are they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care about any of it until they open up the springs. That's the only thing I care about doing.
Yeah, I mean, you know me, man. I don't do too much. I don't do too much where I actually leave, the house. So it doesn't matter that much to me. But what was really cool today that Governor Greg Abbott did you see his tweet from last night?
Of course not.
The alcohol to go is going to stay with. It's going to stay. We get to go margaritas from here on out.
Oh, I haven't been drinking in like 2 years, so it doesn't really change much for me.
I haven't.
Unfortunately,
I haven't drank in a good 12 hours. Trash man. Yeah, Michael.
Maybe when I have kids.
Yeah, definitely. Once you have kids, Michael Yeager if you have to homeschool, you'll be wanting to drink around this time of morning. Michael Yeager in the chat asking if Trash Man just rolled out of bed. How long have you been up, Trash Man?
I've been up for actually about 2 hours now.
That dude, it's been a long time. It's been a long time since I've slept into the crack at 8:30. Trash Man, that's very, 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 very strong sleep game. All right, so we're going to talk about some players today. I guess maybe at the running back position that have been affected by the NFL draft and just the kind of the fallout from the NFL draft as far as fantasy football goes. As I'm going through and I'm updating to version 2.0 of the best ball cheat sheet for our pro members at RosterWatch.com. This thing needs a big overhaul at this point, Trash Man. And the reason is different for each one of these guys. So let's just go through them. I figured you and I could just talk about these running backs at the very top. And when we do, you can kind of give me your thoughts or kind of, what it is that you think. I think we should start with Aaron Jones, Green Bay Packers. His current ADPs, we're below him as far as his current ADP. Sitting right now, maybe we're interested in taking him towards the first, second round turn if we can get value there. The Packers drafted Dillon in the second round. Aaron Jones is talking about how he might hold out. At every turn, the Packers have shown through different organizations and different coaching staffs that they hate Aaron Jones and they don't trust him. Matt LaFleur at the NFL Combine, when I said, dude, did we finally see enough this year from Aaron Jones for you to commit to this guy, give him more touches? Like you were basically their hand was forced last year whenever Jamal Williams got hurt. Dexter Williams sucks, which is what we told everybody, coming into last year about Dexter. That whole do you remember whenever Dexter Williams was a thing, Trash Man? We just regardless.
Briefly.
Yeah. At the Combine, I said, it was kind of serendipitous that Aaron Jones got going so much down the stretch under these circumstances. But now that you've seen him, when he gets the volume, what he's able to do, how he was able to take over football games for you, really, really a key part in what the Packers were able to do with that down the stretch last year. What does that mean? And he said, well, we're always we always like to have two guys to keep each other fresh. And to be honest, I think we need to add a third guy. That's what he said. And they go and they draft Dillon, who's going to be a goal line beast for sure. Aaron Jones is talking like he might hold out.
That's what's interesting to me. is the fact that Aaron Jones may hold out, and the fact that Matt LaFleur, by many indications, wants to run the ball a lot more, wants to make this a run-heavy team.
Okay, so how does that? I mean, how does that make you feel about Aaron Jones versus a Nick Chubb, or taking Aaron Jones at his spot in the draft wherever you could have a wide receiver like a Tyreek Hill or a Davante Adams? To me, it doesn't make any sense. It feels like he's going to be a boomer bust proposition. He was a boomer bust proposition last year, even though he ended the year well and was a huge touchdown outlier, getting the most touchdowns for the Green Bay Packers rushing wise since Ahman Green. That wasn't going to happen again anyway. And now we have AJ Dillon added to the mix, who's a different world's different kind of player, world's different kind of draft capital than a Dexter Williams. We still have Jamal Williams, who they say is the superior pass protector. We know that Aaron Rodgers, who's probably tilted right now that they took Jordan Love, but we know that that's important to him. You know, I wonder if Aaron Jones, like, should we be?
Is Aaron Jones being taken above Nick Chubb right now?
No. Well, yes,
Okay.
but we don't have it that way.
Okay, yeah, no, I think that's.
What about Leonard Fournette? What about, should he be above Leonard Fournette? Because Leonard Fournette was a sneaky dude. They didn't take a running back.
You know how well,
didn't take a running back.
But they've been trying to trade him.
They've been trying to trade him, but what are they going to do? I mean, they're going to hand it off to your boy James Robinson or Tavian Feaster. These are the two guys that they got in undrafted free agency. They have Raquel Armstead, who doesn't look. I know we liked him coming out, but he does not look like the answer. I mean, he doesn't even look like an answer, much less the answer. They're going to run Leonard Fournette until the wheels fall off.
They will.
I don't think they can find a trade partner. Miami was their chance, and Miami said, "Fuck you, we're not going to pay that. We're going to go get Matt Breida."
I still don't like Fournette as much as I do Jones.
What about Ekeler?
I don't like the offense as much. I like Ekeler. I think Ekeler and this. I think Tyrod Taylor, Austin Ekeler is going to be kind of a match made in heaven.
You mean Justin Herbert, Austin Ekeler?
I don't know. I don't think Justin Herbert's going to be the starter. I really don't. Anthony
Lynn certainly did say that Tyrod Taylor is not going to be a bridge quarterback for us, which seems like an outright lie at this point. But
I mean, there's one thing about Tyrod Taylor, and is that he doesn't really turn the ball over much. I feel like if he can have mistake-free football and let his offensive weapons do the work, it's going to be hard for them to get him off the field.
Okay. So you like Austin Ekeler better than Aaron Jones, but not Leonard Fournette? You're going to take Ekeler before Leonard Fournette and Aaron Jones?
I'm taking him before Fournette for sure.
Do you know what Fournette's usage was last year? How many balls?
I know. I think Ekeler's a more dynamic player.
He's in that same offense. He's going to get it again. And he's going to have major. He only had, I think he had 3 touchdowns last year.
But the thing is, Ekeler's going to get more volume than he did last year, and he's going to be just as explosive. I think he's going to have more touchdowns. I mean, like Fournette, he's a blunt instrument. I get that, and he's going to be used a lot. But the offense, I don't think is going to be as good. I don't think he's going to be in scoring position as often, and he's not as dynamic a player as Ekeler. So for me, in a PPR or any sort of situation where you're kind of depending at the end of the game, if you're in the fourth quarter and you need 15 points out of your back, are you relying on Leonard Fournette or Austin Ekeler? Who do you trust to get those points for you? And for me, that's 99% of the time that's going to be Austin Ekeler.
Kind of a straw man argument, trash man, to say if you're in the fourth quarter and you need 15 points out of these guys. Because that's a game script kind of thing. That's a game script kind of thing, right? It's like, if you're in the first quarter and you need to guarantee that somebody's going to get 15 rushes over the course of a game, do you want Leonard Fournette or do you want Austin Ekeler? It's kind of like me asking that question. It's like, what does that even mean? What are we talking? You're in the fourth quarter, you need 15 points. Why do you even want to find yourself in that situation?
If you find yourself in a hole and you need a lot of points, I feel safer with Austin Ekeler.
Okay, so I think what needs to happen is just this whole tier I need to just do a little bit here with that area. Would you take Tyreek if you hadn't taken anybody yet? We're talking about the end of the first round. Would you take Tyreek Hill or Davante Adams over any of those guys?
I would take both of those guys over Fournette.
Okay. What about the rest of the tier? What about Ekeler?
Ekeler, no.
You would not take Ekeler over Davante Adams or Tyreek Hill?
Yes. No. Yes.
Yes, you would.
Yes, I would take Ekeler over those guys. Yes.
And what about Aaron Jones?
I would take Tyreek Hill in front of Aaron Jones. I would probably take Davante Adams too.
Davante Adams, like that's a guy. We're not going to talk about wide receivers, but that's a guy who's a sneaky winner from this draft. The best wide receiver draft class that we've seen in years. And did they even take one? Alan Lazard.
The Packers arguably had the worst draft in the league. Them are the Patriots.
They had a bad one. All right, so Austin Ekeler, we already talked about him. What about Mark Ingram now? We're going to have J.K. Dobbins entering the equation. Mark Ingram, probably this is his last year on his contracts, though I bet they continue to use him. They're such a run-heavy team. Does this really move the needle for you, the J.K. Dobbins thing? It doesn't feel like it's going to be as meaningless as the Justice Hill stuff last year. I mean, Justice Hill is dead. That's just for sure. J.K. Dobbins is a much better player, much better athlete. Just an awesome fit for the idea of Lamar Jackson freezing those defensive ends and not letting them crash down on these dives and letting J.K. find the hole and squiggle through there and burst to the second level. I can already picture it in my head. I'm very high on J.K. Dobbins for dynasty for that reason. Him tethered to Lamar Jackson in that offense for the
Lamar Jackson is still their best running back.
I'm not sure, man. J.K. is awesome, but here's the thing: when you have a guy like Lamar, it makes everybody better. It's like it's the rising tide that lifts all boats, but especially at the running back in the quarter. What our friend Matt Kelly from the Potfather, he calls it the Alfred Morris corollary. Because it's like the Alfred Morris with Robert Griffin III thing. It's like once you have that threat of a running quarterback, even for these fucking sluggos, it really helps them. And J.K. Dobbins is no sluggo. So Mark Ingram, how does this affect the way that you see him? Because we're currently looking at taking that guy at about running back 16, something like that. Probably around the time that we have it priced in at maybe pick 3.04, 3.05 in redraft. You'd be kind of a higher end running back 2 type. Does the fact that Gus Edwards is still there, Byron continually says that team, regardless of what we think, actually does like Gus Edwards. And they've said that, they've said that before on record. What do you think?
Dobbins more than I did. Does he have the kind of pass catching ability that an Ingram has?
He'll be fine. Just like Ingram. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. I'm not worried at all about J.K. Dobbins' ability to catch the football. I don't have I'll just pull it up, my rookie worksheet. I'll tell you exactly what the reception share was last year. I remember, he wasn't really considered a guy that was a pass catching back, only an 8% market share of his team's receptions, but he caught 23 balls last year. He'll be fine. I've seen him since he's in high school. He'll be fine. He'll be fine.
I feel like he's more Ingram insurance. I feel like Ingram is about that age where running backs start to decline.
Oh yeah, I think he's past that age.
Maybe that's probably past that. I think he's Mark Ingram insurance. But I do feel as long as Mark Ingram is healthy, we're gonna get similar production to what we've seen, at least in the last year.
Okay, so do you like Miles Sanders better than Mark Ingram? Now that J.K. Dobbins is there?
From a pure talent standpoint, yes. I feel like the Eagles, they didn't really add any help in the backfield.
No.
So I think Miles Sanders starts to come more into his own this season. Probably the fact that he doesn't get injured early.
What about Jonathon Taylor? And how about just the Indy running backs, Jonathon Taylor and Marlon Mack? Because we were taking.
Well, you have to include Nyheim Hines in that conversation too.
No, we don't, because he'll be a pass catching back. I'm trying to talk about this tier right here, where we're talking about guys you could take probably somewhere in the fourth round or early fourth round. I don't think that Nyheim Hines belongs in that conversation. It's like that's where Jonathon Taylor and Marlon Mack were both kind of going, right? And so now in redraft, I think Jonathon Taylor takes the job. Like we've said on this stream, I think he pees on the rug, steals the wife, takes the house keys, takes the kids.
I feel like Marlon Mack is what did he end up as last season at the end of the season? I know he was high up there as far as running backs and all-purpose yards. I think they were taking the best available player at the time with that pick. I feel like Marlon Mack still has some gas. I think Jonathon Taylor, I like him better talent-wise for sure. But I do think that Marlon Mack, his ability to be a pass catcher out of the backfield, I think that lends to Phillip Rivers.
I don't think he
deficiencies.
I mean, I don't think he Trashman. He caught 14 balls last year. I mean, Philip Lindsay, they talk about how that dude didn't catch a goddamn thing last year. He caught 35 balls. Josh Jacob caught 20. I mean, there's very few wide receivers.
But Marlon Mack wasn't healthy all of last season either, though.
Well, I mean, he was. Let's see, Marlon Mack. Just let me look at the game logs here. Marlon Mack played in 14 games last year. I mean, Devontae Freeman played in 14 games. He caught 59 balls. Kenyon Drake played in 14 games. He caught 50 balls. Dalvin Cook played in 14 games. He caught 53 balls. Marlon Mack played in 14 games. He caught 14 balls. It's like, Josh Jacobs played in 13 games last season and caught 20. Marlon Mack's not a threat to catch the football out of the backfield. Jonathon Taylor's a bigger threat. And Jonathon Taylor is the far superior player.
I feel like they're not that dissimilar in the types of backs that they are. I feel like Taylor's probably a more power back than a Marlon Mack.
What? I mean, what do you mean they're not that one is an elite prospect, one is pretty much a jag.
You think Marlon Mack's a jag?
Yes, he's the epitome of a fucking jag. How can you say this about Jonathon Taylor? Jonathon Taylor's taking his job.
I'm not saying anything about Jonathon Taylor. I said Jonathon Taylor was a better back.
Walk right in
and a more powerful back.
Find the nearest rug, unzip, pee on it.
I'm just saying Marlon Mack didn't disappoint last year from a fantasy perspective.
Trash man, if people comment on this video, will you come in and reply to them personally? We need comments underneath this video. If you guys could please comment underneath here, either Trashman or I will come in and we will reply to you.
In YouTube?
Personally. Yes, in YouTube. Do you promise?
Yeah.
All the good listeners? Okay. They're about to find out what a promise from the Trashman really means. Okay, let's see. Next up, Devin Singletary. Now that Zack Moss has been drafted by the Buffalo Bills.
I don't think this.
People were acting like it meant something. I don't know how much it means. I didn't like Zack Moss as much as a ton of people in the industry did. But it goes without saying that PFF, I believe, had Zack Moss as their number one runner in this class. Best rushing grades over the course of the last 3 years. Most forced missed tackles. Best elusive rating. There are things about Zack Moss to like. They spent the draft capital on him up there in Buffalo. And they seemed like they wanted a committee last year with Devin Singletary. It wasn't like it feels kind of like the Packers, right? It's like you asked them, like, you saw how Devin Singletary looked whenever you gave him a little bit more action. Like, we're going to get more action this next year, and then they say stuff like, we don't, we want to keep the tread on the tires. We don't want to wear these guys out early. Blah blah blah, and that's why they have old slugs like the mummified corpse of Frank Gore out there.
Hey, Frank Gore's still running around.
Yeah, he's doing something.
Well, the Bills, I mean, is there a team that runs the ball more than the Bills? I don't know that there is.
Well, Baltimore.
I guess Baltimore last season. But historically, the Bills,
Tennessee. You remember those games with Tannehill threw 9 passes and shit? Come on, dude. But I mean, I understand what you're saying. It's like they're that's the team, right? They want to run the football. So
I think there's going to be plenty.
All right. So Devin Singletary or Marlon Mack?
Devin Singletary.
It's still Singletary, right? Do you want any of this like David Johnson or Le'Veon Bell over him? James Conner is a guy who the NFL draft was actually very, very kind to.
It was, but I mean, he already
took
had
Anthony McFarland in the 4th round. The Steelers did, but he doesn't profile as a feature back. With that said, it doesn't seem like the Steelers like Conner that much, and maybe there could be.
They had some other guys in the backfield that I still think they're going to give some run to.
Well, hopefully it's not Benny fucking Snell.
Benny Snell, still kicking around.
Yeah,
he's like a Nate Burleson of running backs.
We're going to talk. We have Michael Yeager and Hugo Juarez both asking about the San Francisco situation. One of Trashman's favorite trashiest Raheem Mosterts. We'll get to him in just one second, fellas. So what about David Johnson? Whenever you talk about the rest of those guys, David Johnson, Marlon Mack, Devin Singletary. Where do David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, and James Conner fit into you with those guys? Should they be above Marlon Mack and Devin Singletary at this point?
Hey, if David Johnson can reinvent himself to be the David Johnson of 3 years ago, then yeah.
Well, Bill O'Brien thinks he will be. Hey, Bill O'Brien, we've talked about it on the pod before. Bill O'Brien has every reason to justify that horrible fucking trade.
Oh yeah, he's gonna run the wheels off of David Johnson.
So do you like David Johnson better than Marlon Mack and Devin Singletary?
Well, let me ask you this. Did the Houston Texans do enough to improve their offensive line in this draft by any considerable means?
They got Laramie Tunsil done. Let's just look at the Texans draft. Texans draft 2020. Always so organized around here. Okay, so I don't even know this round 4 offensive lineman that they took. They took Charlie Heck from North Carolina. So no, it isn't like they've done a ton, but they did pay Laramie Tunsil.
I mean, so there's going to be even more focus on the running game, at least by defenses this season. They don't have a Hopkins to take some of that focus. I feel like they're going to give David Johnson a lot of the run, but I don't know. It might be a kind of Leonard Fournette kind of situation where he's getting a lot of action, but not really scoring that much.
So the answer is David Johnson. So it's not you want Devin Singletary and Marlon Mack over David Johnson? Still?
I would like David Johnson probably over Marlon Mack just because I feel he's probably going to get a larger share of the touches.
What about Le'Veon?
Marlon Mack is.
What about Le'Veon? He should probably be above those guys, right?
Yes.
I think so too. What about Conner? Or at that point, do you just pivot and take DJ Moore or Odell Beckham or something? It's probably
no. I would still go with Conner there.
So Le'Veon, Conner, Singletary, Mack. It feels like.
Yeah.
Okay. DeAndre Swift goes to Detroit. The king of the running back committee, Bob Quinn, who just wants guys in committees. DeAndre Swift's value, I think, just took a shit on itself.
Or Kerryon Johnson's did.
It did. It did.
Well, I mean, but you saw that backfield last year was kind of like a musical chairs.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't want anything to do with any of them. DeAndre Swift being great or not, I don't want it.
I don't mind Swift. I don't mind having a piece of Swift just because he's such a dynamic player.
But for the cost?
What is the cost right now but DeAndre Swift?
Well, we were lower on him than consensus already, and we're talking now, I don't know, mid to late 4th round. It's too high. For a guy in a committee with Kerryon Johnson in Detroit, it's too high. Like, he needs to move down. I don't even need to discuss that one with you. And then before we get to Raheem Mostert, what about Damien Williams with the Clyde Edwards-Helaire stuff?
I think there's going to be enough for both of those guys.
Really? They don't take a first round running back like Clyde to not just pound that guy.
I don't know that they're pounding any of their running backs. I don't think it's that kind of offense.
Is Darrell Williams at least finally dead for you, trash man? You're never going to keep recommending this guy or
Darwin
Thompson. Darrell Williams or Darwin
I'm joking.
Thompson?
It was a joke.
Okay.
There was irony there.
Damien Williams needs to move down. You can't take him before the 5th or 6th round at the earliest. And I think the Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a guy that you need to consider where Damien will. I mean, all right, so with Clyde, where do you like Clyde with that whole David Johnson, James Conner, Le'Veon Bell, Marlon Mack, Devin Singletary tier? Because clearly you'd rather have Clyde Edwards-Helaire than you would Damien Williams, correct? Damien Williams last year in the contract.
Yes.
No one's walking around saying that he's the better Brian Westbrook. It's just they're not. They're not.
Those are big shoes to fill, big little shoes to fill.
Yeah.
Well, where's Damien Williams right now? Is he beginning of the 2nd round?
We don't know yet. The ADPs haven't shaken out, but we need to get ahead of them. Right? We need to get ahead of them.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking that Damien Williams probably belongs somewhere around guys like Kareem Hunt and Kerryon and David Montgomery. You know, that sort of area. I think that'll probably be about where that'll be where he settles in for the value that we're comfortable with. But Clyde, I feel like, should be up here in this. I mean, even in the conversation with maybe Miles Sanders and Miles Sanders and Le'Veon and David Johnson and Devin Singletary and Marlon Mack. I think that's kind of where I'm not comfortable really getting him up to, Jonathon Taylor is in that mix too. I don't think I'm comfortable getting Mark Ingram's in that mix too. I think we need to be considering him a low end sort of, or a high end running back too.
No, I agree with that. I mean, honestly, he might be more dynamic than any of those guys in that offense.
Yeah, I agree. Is the cutoff where you get him? Is the cutoff at Melvin Gordon, maybe? Melvin Gordon or Clyde Edwards-Helaire? I think it's Melvin still. Drake. I think Austin Ekeler, Kenyon Drake, Melvin Gordon is just a little bit higher up.
I would rather have a piece of the Kansas City offense, to be honest. But I understand. I understand, the safety in a Melvin Gordon there.
They're gonna. Yeah. I mean, Melvin Gordon. I mean, he has Philip Lindsay to deal with now too. I mean, we're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I want a piece of the guy who's going to be in the most dynamic offense in the league.
So do I. So we're going to treat Clyde. We're going to treat Clyde appropriately there for that. All right, finally, everybody wants to talk about it in the chat. Why? I have no idea. But it's Raheem Mostert. Matt Breida is now off to the Miami Dolphins. Tevin Coleman's still clanking around. Raheem Mostert finished last season just completely on fire. But Kyle Shanahan at the combine said that they're going to continue with an approach that's the same as it was, where it's just kind of a hot hand type of deal.
Hey, got him to the Super Bowl.
But we've talked about it before, Trashman. Can Raheem Mostert's hand just stay this hot?
I don't see why not.
Because I mean, we've seen Tevin Coleman pop off for the big games before. I think from week to week,
I like Raheem Mostert more than maybe a Damien Williams at this point.
Well, you have to like it. I think we like him more than Damien Williams for sure, because we talked about Damien Williams belonging down farther down. The real question is, do you like Raheem Mostert better than Chris Carson?
No.
Really? Why?
I just don't see – I see Chris Carson being more consistent in his production.
So finally, Trash Man, you've come around and you'd agreed with me that we can't depend on Raheem Mostert developing and keeping a hot hand on a game-by-game basis. Perfect. We're in perfect agreement.
Fine. I'll concede to that.
All right. Well, with that concession, that'll go ahead and end the pod. We got through that first tier of running backs. Nice work. All right. And to everybody who's watching, thank you all so much. Remember, if you guys could comment underneath here, subscribe on here, it really, really does help a lot. We will come in and we will reply to your replies. But our robot genius overlords, man, it gets them really, really excited in their robot pants when they see comments underneath here. And we gotta get them mega.
If I'm an overlord, I'm not wearing pants.
They're tiny. They got tiny little robot pants they like to wear and feel get real tight when they see those comments. So make sure and get that done for us, guys. Find the RosterWatch Podcast on Apple Podcasts. Find all our content at rosterwatch.com. I'm gonna try and get this new best ball cheat sheet with all these changes up here as soon as I possibly can. Love y'all. See you soon. Peace.